team at MIT and Harvard pulled the records on 12.5 million course enrollments and found something the marketing never mentions. More than half of the people who signed up never opened a single lesson. Of everyone who did, only a few percent reached the end. Not a few percent of dropouts, a few percent of the total pass before you buy another course. Here is the question the sales page won't answer. Do people actually finish the thing they paid for? We pulled the receipts on course completion. Start with the cleanest number in the whole field. A researcher at the Open University pulled the completion data on 221 separate online courses and lined them up. The median completion rate came out to 12.5%. Read that again. The typical online course is finished by roughly 1 buyer in 8. And the range underneath that median is enormous. The worst course in the set was completed by under 1% of enrollees, the best by just over half. So there is no single completion number for online courses. There is a wide spread, and the middle of that spread sits around 1 in 8. Everything that follows is an investigation into why that number is so low and the one variable that moves it. Now the study that settled the argument. In 2019, 2 researchers published the largest completion analysis ever assembled, 12.67 million course registrations from 5.6 million learners across MIT and Harvard's online catalog, tracked over 6 full years. 3 findings cut straight through the hype. First, completion barely moved. After 6 years of investment, redesigned courses, better video, and learning research, the share of all participants who finished hovered at roughly 3 to 6% the entire time. It did not improve. Second, and this is the one nobody says out loud, 52% of people who registered never started the course at all. They paid or signed up and never opened lesson 1. Third, the audience leaked away. Of first-time users in the early years, around 38% came back the next year. By the later years, that return rate had collapsed to about 7%. The pattern is not a dip. It is the natural resting state of a course you bought and didn't structure your life around. Raw completion rates hide something important, and it cuts in the buyer's favor, partly. Lump everyone together and you are counting tourists alongside students. Many people who sign up for a free course are just browsing. They were never going to finish, and they shouldn't be counted against the course. So researchers split the population by intent. Among learners who stated up front that they intended to complete and earn a certificate, completion jumped to around 22%. And among the people who actually paid for a verified certificate, who put money down, completion climbed to roughly 46% in 1 year of the MIT and Harvard data. So paying does change behavior. Money creates a thread of commitment. But sit with that top number for a second. Even among people who paid specifically to finish and get the certificate, fewer than half made it to the end. Paying improves your odds. It does not come close to guaranteeing you finish. So if money only gets you to a coin flip, what actually moves the number? The data points hard at one variable: structure. Compare the formats directly. Self-paced courses, the buy it and watch whenever model that most of the side hustle economy sells, land at the bottom with completion benchmarks of roughly 5 to 15%, in line with everything we've seen. Professional certification programs, which carry real deadlines and an exam at the end, run higher, around 30 to 40%. And cohort-based courses, the ones with a fixed start date, live sessions, a group of peers moving through the material with you, and someone noticing when you go quiet, report completion in the range of 70 to 90%. That is not a small improvement. It is the difference between roughly 1 in 10 finishing and roughly 8 in 10. Same human, same willpower, same material. The only thing that changed is the scaffolding around them. Watch where a self-paced buyer actually leaks out, because the shape of the loss tells you everything. It is front-loaded and brutal. The single biggest drop happens before anything starts. Across the large data sets, around half of buyers never open the first lesson at all. Of the ones who do begin, the next steep cliff is the first week or two, when motivation collides with real life and the course has no deadline pulling them forward. By the time you reach the middle of the course, the room is already mostly empty. And the final stretch, the assessment, the capstone, the part that actually certifies the learning happened, is reached by only that small single-digit to low double-digit slice. The curve doesn't fail at the end. It fails at the beginning and then keeps quietly bleeding because nothing is built to stop it. Now connect the data to what you are actually buying, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. When a course is sold to you, The pitch is the content, the modules, the hours of video, the downloadable templates, lifetime access. But the completion data says the content is the part you are statistically least likely to consume. If only 1 buyer in 8 reaches the end of the typical self-paced course, then for 7 of those 8, the content was never the product. They paid for access to information they did not finish using. And the cruelest version is lifetime access. Because lifetime access is the perfect excuse to never start. There is no deadline, no cohort, no closing door, nothing that converts intention into action. The thing being marketed as the most generous feature is the exact feature the data says kills completion. You are not paying for content. You are renting the feeling that you will get around to it. So here is where the receipts land for anyone deciding whether to buy. The completion data is consistent across millions of enrollments and decades of study. The typical online course is finished by somewhere between 3 and 15% of the people who buy it. The largest single loss happens before the first lesson even opens, and money alone only lifts you to roughly a coin flip. The one factor that reliably moves completion from 1 in 10 to 4 in 5 is not better content, it is structure. A fixed start date, real deadlines, live accountability, and a group of people moving through it alongside you. So when you evaluate a course, stop asking whether the content is good. Almost all of it is good enough. You will not finish it anyway. Ask instead what is built into this purchase to make you actually finish. If the honest answer is nothing, if it is just videos and lifetime access, then you are not buying an education. You are buying the 8 in 10 odds that you never completed, and the structure is the only part of the product that was ever worth paying for.